Kamala Harris, right? You want a deep dive, huh? I'm in. She's fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
This article you sent over, wow.
Yeah.
It's really in-depth, but,
It is. There's a lot there.
I mean, headlines are one thing.
Sure.
But, like, what makes Kamala? You know?
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to figure out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy enough to look at the when and the where, the bullet points of a biography.
Right, right.
But how do all those things add up to the person and the leader that she is today? That's the question. And hopefully we've got enough here to at least get a little closer.
Yeah, to go beyond the kind of surface level. And I mean, her childhood alone.
Oh, yeah.
Her mom, a scientist, emigrated from India.
Right.
Her dad, an economist from Jamaica. And she's growing up in Berkeley during the Civil Rights Movement, but also visiting family in Chennai.
Yeah, talk about a contrast.
That's got to shape a person, don't you think? Even from a young age.
I think so. I mean, can you imagine being a kid on those trips to India, seeing like a completely different world, different cultures, different politics, and then coming back to Berkeley, a place that was, I mean, it still is, a center of activism and social change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holding those two realities in your head, I imagine, it gives you a different understanding of things like social justice and equality, you know?
Oh, for sure. And it wasn't just, witnessing it from afar.
Right?
This article talks about her parents actually taking her to civil rights protests.
Wow.
Like, picturing her as a kid, seeing that passion, that fight firsthand.
Yeah, that'll light a fire under you.
Talk about formative experiences. It makes you think, like, was a future senator, maybe even president, being shaped right there?
It's amazing when you look back at those kinds of moments in someone's life, right?
Right. And speaking of formative, this article really digs into her time at Howard University.
Ah, yes.
It calls it like a turning point for her.
As it would be. Howard's not just any school, it's an HBCU, a historically black college or university.
Right, of course.
Places like Howard, they have this incredible legacy, this century-plus history of fostering black thought, black leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the people who've walked those halls. Thurgood Marshall, Toni Morrison, Kwame Ture.
Wow, yeah.
To be surrounded by that, to be part of that legacy, it's powerful.
So for someone like Kamala, who already, had that spark, that passion for social justice, going to Howard, it wasn't just about getting a degree.
No, not at all.
It was about, honing that passion, being around mentors, other students who understood the challenges, the systemic challenges that Black Americans faced in a way that other schools, they just didn't.
Exactly. I mean, think about the conversations happening in those classrooms, in the dorms, on campus.
I bet.
The debates, the strategies, the organizing, it's got to be in those spaces that her own voice, her own vision really starts to take shape.
It's incredible to think about.
It is.
It's like all those experiences kind of build on each other.
Right, to journey.
To make her who she is now.
Exactly.
And you know what I like about this article? It doesn't just focus on
the political stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It gives us these glimpses into, her life.
Sure.
Like, did you know her stepkids call her Momala?
I did. It's cute, right?
It's adorable.
It kind of humanizes her a little bit.
Totally, because it's so easy to see, especially women in these positions, high power positions.
Right, they get put in a box.
Like they're all ambition, all business, no fun.
Yeah, and it's like, they can't be, whole people.
Exactly. But Momala, come on, that's a whole vibe.
It is. It is.
Like you can be tough, you can be a leader, but also warm and loving.
Absolutely. And I think that's important for people to see, especially young women.
Totally agree.
Like you don't have to fit in this one mold to be successful.
Okay, but the article doesn't shy away from the, let's say, more complicated aspects of her story either.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking specifically about her time as a prosecutor.
Right, which it's a complicated one, isn't it?
It is.
We have to consider the context, the time period, how views on criminal justice have evolved.
Right, because the article mentions her focus on gang violence, sexual assault, obviously serious issues.
Of course.
But then there's also the criticism about, her record on police reform. And it's tough to reconcile those two things,
Well, that's where understanding prosecutorial discretion comes in.
Okay, break that down for me.
So prosecutors, they actually have a lot of leeway, right? They decide which charges to bring, how hard to push for certain sentences.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that much power.
Oh, it's a lot of power. And they're operating within a system that, let's be honest, has a lot of flaws.
Oh, for sure.
So it's this constant balancing act between individual cases and trying to address these larger systemic issues.
And then on top of that, you have to factor in the context of the time, right?
Absolutely.
Like, what were the prevailing attitudes towards law enforcement back then? How has that conversation changed, even in the last few years?
All of that matters when we're looking back at someone's record and trying to make sense of it today.
It's a lot to unpack, that's for sure.
It is.
It's kind of overwhelming, you know? When you start really piecing together all these parts of her story,
It is. It's complex.
all these experiences, the political landscape,
Right.
and now everyone's wondering, like, what does it all mean if she becomes president?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? It's not just about who she is, but what a Harris presidency would actually look like.
Exactly.
For the country, for all of us.
And this article, it's like it knows that's the big question,
Right.
but it doesn't try to give us all the answers.
It wouldn't be a very good deep dive if it did.
Huh. True. But it does point out, like, how historic this would be, right?
Oh, absolutely.
First woman president.
First black president.
First South Asian president.
Whole lot of firsts.
And that's huge. But it's got to be more than that, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, think about it. All those experiences we've been talking about. Her perspective, her background. We haven't seen that in the Oval Office before.
Yeah.
So it's not just about representation. It's about potentially a different way of leading, a different approach to the job.
Yeah, it's exciting. Even a little daunting, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. The weight of expectation, you know.
And the article doesn't shy away from, like, the challenges, either the
Right.
political climate, the division in this country.
Deep divisions.
I-
It makes you wonder, you know, how much any president, even the most qualified, the most experienced, how much can they really do in that kind of environment?
That's the million-dollar question right there.
It is. And it's a question I think everyone's wrestling with.
Mhm.
Because a Harris presidency, it'd be historic, no doubt, but it's not some magic solution.
Right, right.
It's maybe a chance for change. But change happens within a system.
Mhm.
And that system, it's complicated.
Man, this is giving me a lot to think about.
Me too, honestly.
Like, what does leadership even mean in times like these?
Yeah, what does it mean?
With all this history, all these expectations, but also, like, this potential to really make a difference.
That's the thing about these deep dives, isn't it?
What's that?
We don't finish with all the answers,
Yeah, that's true.
but we come away with, hopefully, a better understanding.
Oh, yeah. I know, I've learned a lot today.
Me too.
This article, your insights,
Well, thank you.
it's like I get Kamala Harris now.
That's what we're aiming for.
Not just as a politician, but as, like, a real person
Right.
shaped by all these experiences.
And the story's still being written. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you wonder what's next.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What comes next for her, for all of us? Thanks for diving in with me today. I always appreciate the conversation.
Anytime, really. Until next time.